Well, let's speak live. What's up, everybody? I'm Anthony, DJ in Jersey. That's that guy Magnus in California. So, Magnus, I was watching or reading this book about things that we have lost to the internet.
Hmm.
We don't even realize, like being bored. When was the last time any American has been bored? We're so we can't have 2 seconds. But even myself, I'm an adult, and I'm like, I can't. Like, if I'm bored for 1 second, boom, phone. Like, I have to, cat videos on YouTube, whatever. So I'll go through this list of top 10 things. I mean, actually, the book is 101 things, but I was like, holy shit,
Yeah,
I'll just take 10. So,
yeah,
okay, the first thing, Magnus, tell me if you remember this one. Remember, kids out there, you probably don't realize this, but when you wanted to look up numbers to call, you had a Rolodex. It was like a paper kind of mechanism that had little business cards in this rolling cylinder, and you would just roll it, the Rolodex, a deck of cards, and the names would come up in alphabetical order. Do you remember that, Magnus?
yeah. I never owned one myself. I had an almanac with my friends' numbers and everything. That the way I collected it, like you remember the Filofax, like the old little. I had like a letter one, like small one that
Yeah,
was in each.
I had a little black phone book that I would write the
Yeah,
names and numbers in.
yeah, yeah. No, no. So I think I still, to be honest, I have it. I actually brought it to the States, my almanac, because I was using paper almanacs for a long, long time. And I think that why? So there's a reason for it, because you do not need a charge phone, things like that. I always had it, like carrying it in my bag, like working bag or whatnot. So I always had it around.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
amazing. Yeah, I always
yeah.
thought whoever had a Rolodex must be really important because
Yes,
you know
yeah. I remember my dad had one, and I wanted to play with it when I was at his work as a kid, but I wasn't allowed to because that was important. So I'm like, yeah, I need one myself.
when you think about it, when I wrote numbers down in my little phone book, it was only people that I was really close to. Like now,
Yeah.
I have fucking hundreds of numbers of people. I'm like, I don't even talk to these fucking people. Anyways, so okay, my next one, I just alluded to, being bored. Now, Magnus, we're the same age. I remember as like a teenager,
Yeah.
sitting in the backyard of my grandmother's house or my house and being bored and just laying on the grass or in a chair and just staring up at the clouds, just staring and just thinking and just being bored. And I'm like, holy shit, I don't remember the last time I was just bored, like with nothing, no
Yeah.
phone,
Yeah, yeah,
no
I
nothing.
think, yeah, you're pointing two things out there, like that you could be bored, and you can be bored, like the actually, like you have nothing to do, right? You're understimulated. Today we're completely
Oh,
overstimulated, and we get bored in other ways,
yeah,
but not just that. Like there's nothing
we
to
don't have to
do.
keep
my,
bored.
my friends my friends are out of town, or they're away, and stuff like that. And there's nothing, like nothing to watch on TV, or like,
Mag-
because, like, again, there was no streaming services back
oh,
then.
I
You
remember.
have to wait. You have to wait until, like it actually came up on a channel.
Right, or I could watch television back in the '80s, but it'd be like shit I don't want to watch.
Yeah,
So we didn't have cable, no VCR, no, and so I would just sit outside and stare, and yeah, no phone, none of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's to be deeply bored. Or what about
yeah.
the next one? Or this is incredible. So I don't know if you had. Okay, so I know you probably had this as a child. So did I. The old-fashioned rotary dial phone where you have
Oh
to.
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
That
wait. This book says
100%.
but the book that I'm reading was interesting because the author said this. When this hit me hard, I was like, oh shit, yeah. So I remember a time where I was so young that we had a telephone, but it was only in the kitchen, and
Hmm.
it was one phone in the central part of the house, which is usually the kitchen or somewhere near the living room. And that was it. There was no other phones. There was no call waiting. There was no caller ID. And you couldn't be on. This was kind of interesting because the author said, and she hit it so right. She said that you could not be on the phone more than 30 minutes because, your mother or your father or your brother, your sister, whoever would say, hey, we got to leave the phone open. God forbid there's an emergency. You can't be on
Yeah,
the phone for two
yeah,
hours or 3 hours. And you would not talk on the phone typically past like nighttime, past 8 or 9 o'clock, because you felt rude to call a house past whatever
Yeah,
o'clock, right?
yeah.
Because
Because people, if they have children, they might go to
right,
bed and stuff like that. You don't
you
want to
would
wake them
never.
up.
And then the author also wrote this, which is interesting, and she's right about this. I forgot about this. You would also never call a home during dinner hours between like 5 and 7. You would never, because no one's going to pick up the phone. You would just eat. And
Yeah.
so I
And your
was,
parents usually told you, do like, no, leave that. Like, we
I
do not answer.
totally forgot that shit. I was like, oh, that's right. I remember that. And I thought we were fucking billionaires when we finally moved from my one house to a bigger house growing up, and we were piss poor. But the house, just by chance, had two phones, same phone number, but there was a phone in the living room and a phone in my parents' bedroom, same
Yeah.
number, same rotary phone. But I was like, oh man, we have two phones, which kind of we didn't, but it was one line, two phones. But anyways, I just thought, oh, I don't have to run downstairs now. I just thought that was so high tech. I was like, holy shit. Anyway,
I remember when my dad actually got a second like line,
oh,
because for we had a business phone,
okay,
right? And so it was actually because so he had his he owned his own company, right? So he had the company pay for it because he did a lot of phone calls internationally. And do you remember how you had to do that when you
well,
basically had to do like a collect call and like,
was it,
oh
yeah,
yeah, and back and forth? There's
right.
so many weird, or
I
like, oh,
remember,
I want to do an international
correct,
call. Okay, what's the number? Okay, we're
right.
gonna route you. We'll call you back when we got it.
Operator. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
remember as a child. And oh, by the way, nobody picked up the phone if you were a child. Only the adults could pick up the phone, or unless your mom or dad gave you permission to pick up the phone.
yeah,
You didn't pick up
yeah,
the phone. Like, so I forgot about that too. I'm like, oh shit, that's right, permission to pick up the phone. But I remember getting or hearing phone calls coming from Italy into New Jersey, and the operator would be like, whatever, questa telefono, Italia. I was like, oh shit, and I remember my whole family, like, Italy's on the phone. Everybody, shut up, turn the television off. Like, it was like a big, big deal when Italy would call
yeah.
New Jersey, my grandparents' sister. So, anyways, okay, very interesting. Let's move on to this one, which I just said before, but getting lost. Magnus, I don't remember a time in the past, I don't know, in the past 10 to 15 years where I was lost. The last time I got lost, I think it was in the 1990s. Like, this phone will get you out of everything. But I did get lost this past summer in August when I was bicycling from New Jersey to Canada. My GPS,
Yes, I remember you told me.
my GPS went down in a forest, and I'm talking legit forest. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, I
No
have,
clue.
and the last time I was lost was maybe in the 90s. And so in a way I kind of felt like, oh, this is so special. This is so cool. And part of me was like, but I was just like, wow, like kids, teenagers, people in their 20s, your 20-year-old, don't even know what the fuck it is to be lost.
No, lost. I mean, yeah, no. It's yeah. I know exactly what. I mean, I've been lost when I was out walking the dogs or doing like I remember my mom was obsessed by picking mushrooms in the forest. And we trails, you basically knew the major trails by heart, but then that was a couple of summers after they completely cut like the forest. I mean, there's a forest industry, so I mean they cut it down once in a while, after, depends on when it's fully grown, 30-40 years, I mean, depending. So the trails were completely messed up, and we got lost. I remember it, but I was probably a teenager back then. And
Right.
the only thing, like, I know that I like lost was when I was abroad and did not have my phone. Like, you don't like, you use your Wi-Fi and things like that to connect to that. I got lost once. So the only thing I can see, like, yeah, when your phone is not working correctly, or that the GPS is wrong, that they, like, there might be closing roads, detours, stuff like that, and it's not updated. But other than that, I mean, that's usually a quick fix anyway,
Yeah.
because you're like, oh yeah, find another way, and then, like,
No,
yeah,
yeah.
it updates itself.
Interesting. Okay, what about this one? This one is, wow. I don't remember the last time uh, writing a letter to somebody, a paper letter. The last actual letter that I wrote was 95, I wrote a letter to a friend in the military.
Yeah.
But that, I think that was the last letter. That's it. I mean, I write cards every so often, but a letter. I mean, I remember.
Yeah, cards. I would say cards I've done.
Yeah, but I'm talking about letter to
Yeah,
communicate.
no, like yeah, letters are like a real letter. I mean, it's the same thing. It goes way faster of just like writing it. If you actually have to, I mean, you write it on your computer, print it out, and then sign it. I mean,
I'm talking about right handwritten.
yeah, no. That's. I mean,
1995.
I handwrite notes and things like that, but not a like. It was just sad because it's like it. I mean, if you want to impress somebody and like actually writing it by hand and sending it to someone, that is like, oh, this person actually took their time. That's usually like a good way. They usually say this, like if you're at a job interview and things like that, sending a written note to someone, if you want to really stand out, to just thank them for you might not get that job, but they remembered like, oh,
I
that
agree.
person wrote me a
Well,
handwritten note, a
yeah,
thank
along
you
those
note.
lines, it's funny because I still do paper mailings to
Yeah,
customers,
yeah,
give them coupons and stuff, so that because it stands out.
yeah,
Nobody.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, encyclopedias. Remember that one?
Oh yeah. I
Well,
mean,
that if kids watching, people in their 20s and 30s watching, an encyclopedia was like the ghetto version of the internet. It had a little bit of information about as much as you could possibly.
that was crazy. And do you remember the salesmen that used to go around and sell them?
Man, he came to my
and
house.
and then you have to, oh well, you're gonna get 20 books first, and then thinking it's like, well, you haven't even finished the last, well, and then they had to add in extra. Yeah, it was so weird, and it's like, what, it's such a cool thing to have, because
Was we
you could find out like so much
well,
like that. That was
find out,
crazy.
yeah, about like only the big things in life. You couldn't
Yeah.
find about little things, but like like how many planets are there? How many countries are there? You could find that out, but you
Yeah,
couldn't find out.
yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. History, a little bit of history stuff as well too. I mean, yeah, no, there were like,
Yeah, yeah.
again, and you remember like when people say, when you knew a lot about things, and you're like, you're an encyclopedia, like
Right,
you know like everything, like all
right,
the facts and
right.
data and stuff
Right.
like
What
that.
about this? Along those same lines, spelling, meaning like getting spelling correct, because nowadays it's almost impossible to spell incorrectly because autocorrect is always there.
Dude, it's sad. I still see that with so many kids. It was way worse in middle school, but they cannot still spell because when a word could be spelled like it could be spelled like it has
I get
different
it.
meanings, and they spell it completely the wrong version, or like it's just sad. And then like we're talking about, this is coming from an English learner, that I have to correct people that are born in this country.
But here's the thing: you have to
It's
want,
sad.
right. But today you have to want to, or be careless and not give a shit to mess up. To spell incorrectly. But if you really want to spell correctly and you're trying, you'll get it right 100% of the time because the autocorrect, ChatGPT.
Can I add something to that too?
Yeah.
You have voice to text nowadays.
Right, exactly. No, but I'm saying like
It's like,
when we were kids, no matter how hard you tried, you could still mess up. If you're trying really hard today to spell correctly, you're going to get it right. But if you're
yeah,
not trying, of course you're going to mess up. But that's laziness. But I mean, like you could try all you want back in the day, 1985. There's a high propensity you might mess up.
yeah.
Like you can't mess up if you genuinely try
No,
today.
no, no. I agree. I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's something. That's a sad part when you see that people are still like spelling incorrectly. Then it's like, dude, do you even care?
Right. Well, I spell incorrectly sometimes because I don't give a shit. But if I do give a shit, I'm on point because my Chat GPT will help
Oh
me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, Grammarly, all these
Yeah, I mean,
AI, and I mean, it even say, hey, maybe you want to write it this way instead. That would make it clearer. And you're like, okay,
100%. All right. Now, what about you were saying?
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Patience. Remember patience? We had to be patient today, and we're adults. I have no patience for anything because everything comes at us so fast, so quick. We get what we want in a snap of a finger. I remember buying something in a catalog back in the 80s, and
Yeah,
I had to wait 2 weeks. 2 weeks to get that shirt or
And
that
sometimes it got delayed as well too.
yeah, or that pair of glasses, or that whatever pair of shoes. I had to wait 2 weeks. Now, same day. So it's just like it's faster to do. Nobody has
It's
patience anymore.
insane. It's
I don't have
so
patience for anything anymore.
that's something that is funny because I do have a lot of patience, and I think that's like when you have to deal with a lot of other people, like when it comes to teaching, coaching, stuff like that, you need to have patience. Otherwise, it's not gonna be fun, and it's like you have to, and also like think about like especially like okay, relax, take a deep breath. There, like we're missing here the miscommunication and so on. And I'm a firm believer in delayed gratification as well too. So I'm like
If it's hard,
it's
man,
going to happen, but I understand where you're coming from
I
with
want food. I don't have to even leave the house. It comes to me.
yeah, with food. I mean, it's the same thing. You can actually like you don't even have to like when you order food, for instance, they'll bring it to you. Like we're so
Of course.
impatient and lazy that we cannot even go to a
Remember,
place and pick it up.
I remember getting a taxi back in the day. They'd be like, "Okay, we'll be there in a half hour." Half hour. Uber
Yeah,
at my house in 2 minutes.
yep.
So
No,
okay.
it's crazy.
Yeah, so next one. Remember this one, which I guess physically now, but not over the internet. I mean, over the internet we can kind of browse stuff to buy.
Yeah.
Remember physically going out to stores to go window shopping just to look in the windows of what things were being sold. Nobody does that anymore because you got the internet.
Yeah, no, the thing is like I might, but usually I'm not like even looking for things nowadays. It's like for instance, it's like my wife asked me, "Hey, do you want to go with me to this place or what?" And I'm like, "Okay." And then I'm just like I'm walking around. We might have our dogs with us and stuff like I'm just sitting or doing and like watching things and because usually you already know what you want to pick up when
Yeah.
you go to a store and yeah, it's crazy. The only time I would say when I like go window shopping is when I'm traveling. If I'm like abroad and you go to like, oh, what's this store? I never seen it before, or like I wonder what they have here, and things like that. But that's kind of the crazy part about living in the States is that we have access to everything.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's insane. It's insane, like the amount of web shops and on Amazon and whatnot. Yeah, it's crazy, and that's the same thing. I remember, like you know about the Under Armour, right? The company. Yeah. So here's a fun thing. So this happened 1997, 98, something like that. I was, remember when they had all these the football, like every preseason they had all the football when they went through like the team who they drafted, their roster, things like that. So in one of those in the back there was an ad for Under Armour, and I'm like, this is what we've been looking for forever. Like, because we sometimes we played when it was cold, so we wanted long sleeve, like tight stuff, and all these like the t-shirt that are not like cotton and weigh like 200 pounds after you start sweating.
Yep.
So I was like, I talked to like my other football friends. It's like, dude, we need to buy this. Oh, they have a web page. All right, cool. It's like, oh, I wanted this. So we kind of sorted up. Then we were sitting, because of the time change and stuff like that. We're sitting one evening, and my friend basically called Under Armour, and we ordered a bunch of stuff there, and like from the States, and they're like, "What? Are you from Sweden?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah." Like, how? Like, we're not a big company. How did you? This is way back when it was a small company.
Yeah.
Like, how did you find us? And we said it. They're like, "Oh, that's super cool." Like, yeah, she actually found us. Like, from Sweden, and you play football. No, that was funny. Then I remember next year we did another giant order from them, and they sponsored NFL Europe.
There you go.
So they were like, well, we got a bunch of free tickets that sponsor tickets, but we're not going to go to Europe. And we're like, do you want them? So they tried to give us a bunch of tickets to a bunch of games. Unfortunately, it was during our season, so we couldn't go. But I think that was such a, like, that was such a cool experience.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of it's so unique. You will it will never happen again,
Right.
basically, unless you're like doing like a small mom and pop store that like you have people that are doing everything themselves.
100%. All right, now my last one.
Yes.
I don't know if you did this in Sweden, but in America, because America is a very car-centric country, uh,
Yeah.
there was a time in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Uh, People would go cruising. You get in your car
Yeah.
and you drive up and down the street, and you see like what friends are out. It was like kind of like Facebook before there was Facebook. If you want to see who's out and what's going
Yeah.
on, you had to get in a car. And kids today, listen to me if you're watching this. I know it's crazy, but your moms and dads, grandparents even, had to drive up and down streets for hours. Just up and down. We thought that was the most fun thing ever because you could see who's coming out. Oh my God, there's that girl I like. Oh, wow, they are my friends, Johnny and Mickey.
Hey, I gotta tell you something. Yes, I didn't do it personally because I like didn't really have a car. I mean, we might have done it like on bicycles driving around, like
Oh,
finding each other.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's another way of looking. But here's a fun thing. That is actually a culture in Sweden, and it still exists. So they usually have old school American cars from pristine super until like the worst piece of crap in the whole world that just falls apart. And you remember Grease? Like the greasers.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's basically in Swedish they're called raggare. So it's funny that you mention it. And I remember when I did my military service up north, and they were like, like the teenagers there, like, or the people in their 20s, they did that, and we were like, a full on uniform when we went downtown to go like get some groceries or like prepare. And it was such a clash, like most of us were from like bigger cities and things like that, and we came up to like the middle of nowhere. They did not like us a whole lot because we're there being like coming from other pieces of the country and like being they thought like being assholes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because there was always like fights and stuff like that happen. And but you have to be smart. I'm like, I never got involved in that, but it
Yeah.
was funny. It
I
was
see that-
funny how
that- yeah, here cruising was huge. And
yeah.
hey, when we would cruise up and down the street, we would pick up random girls and they would jump in the car with us like strangers. We didn't know them, they didn't know us. It was innocent, but
Yeah.
it was like wow, what a different time, Like today, forget it. If somebody even looks at somebody driving by in a car, they're gonna call a SWAT team. I mean, it was just very
Or
very
if you stand parked outside of someone's house, they like if you're there for more than 5 minutes, like people call the cops, like, hey, there's someone
yeah,
standing
yeah,
outside a car. I'm like, what?
yeah, it was very
Like,
innocent. But
yeah,
yeah,
no, so like again, the culture and like so different compared to today. Like now, I would say the closest thing that I kind of see is the younger teenagers that are out on their electrical bikes
yeah,
going around our neighborhood and stuff like that and hanging out. But most teenagers, they go somewhere. They're always like,
but here's the thing too, right? You have a lot of people that walk up and down the street and in the summer, in the spring, in the
yeah,
fall. However, everybody is on their phone, headphones in. They're really
yeah,
not there. In the 1980s, when I grew up, and I'm sure the 70s and 60s or whatever, people walked outside. They were outside. That you could see them. You can make eye contact. You can
yeah,
talk.
and talk. Yeah, you should
Couldn't-
struck up
couldn't do that now.
conversations.
I
And
walk
then
every day up in my town and everything like that.
yeah,
I see a lot of people, but
never
they're
talk to someone.
and they got headphones on. It's impossible to even say hello. It's
No,
really
that's what I do like about our neighborhood. I know a ton of people because I'm out walking my dogs all the time. So
yeah,
I get to know people like, and every time when we move and things like that, I get to know like a lot of the people around our neighborhood, which is awesome because you know
it's good.
who's what, and like and it's really really good. So and it's always nice to have some friends, like in your neighborhood that you can like hang out with and talk to
Might
and
be a
things like
different
that.
area because here in Jersey, honestly, people are not friendly.
Yeah,
Generally speaking,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's hard, but it's just
Yes, yeah. No, I mean, and that's the thing. There's a difference, like when you have the West Coast vibe, especially Southern California. It is pretty laid back at certain places. So, and it all depends. and also like depending on who you're meeting and things like that, and socialize with. So yeah, no, it's always good. And it's like always, it's good to have dogs too, because
That's,
that people starts talking to you about like
that's
the
true.
dog straight
Yeah,
away, and it's easy, and then they see you again, and they strike
true.
up a conversation, and then I have a funny accent, and they ask you where I'm from, and then that's a topic that people are interested in. So yeah, I mean, it just snowballs, and it's pretty
Yeah.
funny.
So that's it. All the things we lost from to the internet, by the way. So
Yeah.
anyway, folks, thank you. Magnus, anything else before we leave?
No, this was really fun. We haven't done this in a I don't like this. We haven't done before this type. It's interesting to look back at what like how things have changed over time,
Yeah.
and good or bad. I mean, of course, like we're living like I would say the greatest time right now, but
It's many.
we lost a lot of things too. That was kind of funny and cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right, folks, thanks for checking in. Check back in. More great content. Magnus, thank you very much. I'm going to sign us off, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye. Okay.